Mobile hunters, if you're interested in upping your mobile game, then head to tetherednation.com and check out their saddle gear. There are a few things you can actually buy that will help you become a better deer hunter or give you the freedom to hunt any tree or any situation. This is the reason why I started saddle hunting in the first place and why I use Tethered's gear. I can honestly say that Tethered's saddle gear has changed how I hunt for the better. Big tree, little tree, from the ground, it doesn't matter. I'm untethered by my gear to hunt the best setup for the situation, instead of hunting for a tree that my gear can use. My current core setup consists of the Phantom saddle, tethered one sticks, and the Predator platform, along with an assortment of their accessories. So if you want to up your mobile game, head over to tetherednation.com. If you're like me, you spend lots of time poring over maps, looking at weather data, all in an effort to help predict when and where my best times to hunt will be. It'd be nice if there was a reliable source with all this information in one place. Enter the Spartan Forge app. Unlike some other predictive apps on the market, Spartan Forge was created from military combat intelligence experience tailored for hunters, and stands at the nexus of machine learning and white-tailed deer hunting. No more man-made algorithms. This is a predictive model based on real GPS-collared deer data, historical and predictive weather, and the next level of mapping imagery, all at my fingertips. I've been using the iOS app this season, and it has replaced all my other mapping tools. Visit SpartanForge.ai and sign up today, or head to your iOS or Android app store. Use the promo code TRUTH to save some money and download it today. Welcome to the Truths from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Skull Brew Coffee Company. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 284. Today I'm catching up with my good buddy Wilson Mcswain, and we're talking whitetails, turkey, and elk, so stay tuned. All right. What is up, everyone? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are feeling fine. Coming to you from a dreary Pennsylvania here as I'm recording this up front. This past weekend was a washout yet again, which seems like that's the standard, if you will, for the weekends recently. Got rained on during the turkey opener last weekend, had some family in town, tried to barbecue. Barbecue turned out well, but the rain didn't do me any favors. It rained all that weekend, and of course, had a couple of nice days this past week, and then rain all this past weekend as well. So I am kind of, I guess, chomping at the bit a little bit to get outside. And this is usually the time of year, have all my trail cameras out. I guess that's a lie, actually. Let me be honest here. I have almost all my trail cameras out. I have all my cameras out in all of my primary areas. I have probably a handful of spots that I need to kind of that I need to put cameras out in, but they aren't necessarily inventory kind of summer velvet types of spots. There's certain places that I leave cameras run all year round, and there's other places where I kind of throw them in the timber, whenever it gets closer to go time. But I mean, regardless, they'll all be put out this summer and kind of set up and ready to roll for the fall. And I'll probably get that done here in the next couple of weeks. Usually once turkey season ends, and I can use a Saturday because I don't want to bust up anybody's hunt either. If someone's out turkey hunting, and I'm out trying to hang a couple trail cameras or whatever, I don't want to bust up people's hunts while I'm trying to do that. So I usually wait till turkey season's over. Then once it's over, that very next weekend is when I put out the final kind of remaining cameras that I need to get out, and then I'll be all set. But I think I really only have probably 3 more to hang. If I'm being truthful, by most standards, I'm ahead of the game, much further ahead of the game right now than I usually am this time of year. Usually at this point, I'm getting ready to scramble to try to do a couple all-day sessions to get cameras out. But this year, I kind of did it as I was scouting during the winter and hung them in priority spots. I think I talked about this at one other point. A lot, and this even goes for whenever you're trying to trim out trees or set trees up. The best time to do that stuff is when you're there. So when I'm scouting now anymore, even if it's in the winter, like even say February, I'll pack a camera or 2 in my pack, and just kind of carry them along with me. And whenever I find a spot where I'm like, man, I really need to put a camera here, I just hang the camera and be done with it. As opposed to saying, let me mark this, I'll come back to it in the fall or in the summer rather, and hang a camera. The other reason too is that it might look a lot different whenever I get back there in the summer than it did in the winter whenever I was scouting with the leaves all off and stuff like that. So I've just tried to bundle as much as I can together on those sessions and try to get as much done when I'm in the woods as opposed to making multiple trips. And it actually frees up, some free time for me to be able to spend a little bit more time with the family and stuff like that. So killing multiple birds with one stone, so to speak. But with that, we're going to go ahead and just get jumped into today's show. Have a cool show for you guys today. Have my buddy Wilson Mcswain on. You know him, you love him. He's been on the show a couple different times. He used to live here in Pennsylvania. He wasn't my neighbor necessarily, but didn't live but maybe 15 minutes from me. And we would usually do some scouting together, do a little bit of turkey hunting, maybe a little bit of goose hunting, and then usually try to get together during the late season. Archery and try to do some whitetail hunting, which we always failed at miserably. Anytime he and I were together for hunting deer, we never saw a single deer. But with that, Wilson ended up moving to Idaho last summer. I want to say right around this time last year. I want to say June sometime, I think, is whenever he actually headed out there. And so we talk a little bit about the move, moving west. He's got some family out there, which is why he and his family headed out that way. But what we get into a little bit is just, he's had a big change, obviously. When you move across the country, that's a big change. He's now working in the outdoor industry, which is a big change, right? Because everyone thinks want to work in the outdoor industry, but do you actually get to hunt as much as you would like to? So we talk a little bit about that. We also talk about he's kind of been on this turkey tour or turkey tear, actually, as of the recording of this. I think he just killed a bird in Wyoming like 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. So that would put him at a bird in Idaho, one in Texas, and one in Wyoming. And we kind of talk about a couple of those hunts that he had, what's different about hunting mountain birds whenever you get out into those, western kind of mountain states versus, hunting PA or New York or whatever the case is. Talk a little bit about deer hunting as well as, he was a non-resident last year, technically speaking, so he wasn't able to get some tags last year. So he had a really different approach to his hunting season last year. And we talk a little bit about it, but he was able to kind of grow a lot because he's basically spent a season not guiding, but just kind of going along with people, calling elk for people, and just kind of getting his feet wet in the mountains and in the dark timber of Idaho. And we talk a little bit about, what he gained from that experience, not necessarily being the hunter on those trips last year and what he's looking forward to for this year. And then he and I have an elk hunt coming up this late August, early September. I guess I'll be going out at the very end of August. And so we talk a little bit about that and our prep for that and how stoked we are to share elk camp together this year. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's show. Don't forget, head to the website, truthfromthestand.com. Check out the merch tab. Pick yourself up some swag if you would like. And then it's never too early to start prepping for those early fall hunts. Be sure to pick up the Skull Brew backcountry packs for your travel coffee needs. So with that, let's jump into today's show. And as always, thank you for listening. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. And this fella is he's my long lost brother. Haven't heard from him in a while. He done left me here in Pennsylvania, moved to Idaho for bigger and better things. I've got my good buddy on, Mr. Wilson Mcswain. What's going on, man?
Are we live?
We're live.
Oh, I'm just enjoying. We have blue skies, and I think it's like 60 degrees, which is just beautiful. So
nice.
I'm about to break out my summer shorts.
Nice. So you're finally out of the snow.
Yeah, they're calling for maybe some snow this weekend.
Oh, sweet.
But I think it's going to be just higher up.
Right.
So
nice.
They say it's pretty typical to get like a May snow out here.
Yeah. How was your first winter in Idaho? Was it eye-opening? Well, I mean, I guess Idaho is not technically the Pacific Northwest, but you're from the adjacent state.
That's going to make a lot of people mad.
Okay, well, we'll just take that back. Edit that out. Edit button.
Yeah, I said when I moved here, I was like, this is not the Pacific Northwest. This is the Northwest. And then everybody got mad, and they're like, no, Idaho, Washington, Oregon are the PNW. But when you grow up in almost the furthest Northwest corner, take out Alaska, right?
Right.
But we always considered that Seattle area to be the PNW, but now I'm in Idaho, and it's also the PNW.
Right. Well, I mean, they're close. You can give it to them. You know what I mean?
No, the winter wasn't bad though. Everyone here said it was a really big winter, which I was glad for. Because our summer was incredibly hot, and everyone said, "Oh, this is not normal."
Yeah, I remember I was talking to you at one point. I forget what you're doing. I think you and the family were out, I think on a camping trip or something like that.
Yeah, it's
And
115 degrees.
yeah, I know. And I forget what started the conversation. I think because I mentioned how hot it was here, and you were
Yeah.
like, and I was assuming, you were enjoying that nice, like crisp, and it was like late August, like getting on to September. I think even like I don't think it was quite September. It was still
No, it
summer,
was
but
August,
yeah, but
and it was brutal.
yeah, and it was that time of year where I kind of envision, well, at least around here, as you know, like you start to get those nice kind of cool summer nights to a degree,
Yeah.
where it might be hot during the day, but you get like the nice cool down in the evening and stuff like that. And so I was kind of jealous, you being out there, where I was like, man, I bet you he's getting those like, almost fall type temps where it's kind of getting nippy in the evenings and you got like your sweatshirt on and stuff like that. And I call you, you're like, dude, it's like 115 degrees right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just like a week though. It was beautiful, like end of summer weather, and then bam, 115. The thermometer on the back porch said 120, I think, at one point.
Right, and the body's mood ring said it was like
Oh,
140.
God. Yeah, but it still wasn't crazy because there's no humidity here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people here were complaining. They're like, "It's so humid." I'm like, "You have no idea what it's like to be in a deer stand in September and it's 82 degrees and 100% humidity and questioning like life. You're like, why am I? What am I doing here?"
What have I done wrong? Why did I put myself here? Yeah, I think that almost every year in September whenever I go out, because I'm always. Last year I played it a little cooler. I was a little smarter last year, where I didn't. I hunted way more strategic than I had probably the most strategic I've ever hunted. I hunted a lot. I just was choosy about the dates I was going to hunt, and I didn't burn myself out because I often have that problem where I burn myself out, where I go real hard at the beginning because I'm excited. I don't run into my good areas, but I still hunt a lot and probably not very high odds hunts in the past. And last year I kind of took a much more deliberate and maybe tempered approach to the earlier part of the season, had really good encounters, and felt like I was actually balancing my like home life and my hunting better than I have in the past. But yeah,
Yeah, well, we talk about that a lot. Like, are you gonna hunt? People say hunt hard and yada yada, but if you can hunt just as much and be smarter about it and not burn yourself out and
yeah,
still love your family, get time with your family, and
right.
kill deer.
Yeah, and then whenever you're angry at your family, it makes it even easier to leave because you haven't been gone so often.
Yeah, I'm out.
I'm out of here. Take it easy.
Yeah.
So what's been your favorite part of living in Idaho so far, man? Because I mean, you've been out there coming up on, it'll be a year in June, right? Is that when it was? June?
Yeah, I got out here the last week of May, pretty much, because I remember I shot a turkey and then was like, this may be the last turkey I ever shoot in Pennsylvania. Had a little teary-eyed moment.
Yep.
Which is not true. I'm going to come back. I think next year I'm coming back. We're going to kill turkeys.
Nice.
But I think my favorite part has been I guess I would say the outdoor culture.
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, the East Coast had that historic hunting traditions,
Right.
Deer camp, bear camp, deer drives. And here it's less of a thing that you do and more of just how you are.
Right.
And so it's not uncommon to go down to the river and see families fishing together.
Right.
Or it just seems more common, this outdoor mentality of like we fish and we kayak and we got all these lakes here. So the boating culture is huge. Cashiers at the grocery store are wearing their swimsuits in the summer. like the guys, not the girls. But you're
Like,
like,
I
what
don't know, man.
happened?
Like I walk into like the Circle K and I see a guy in like a Speedo, I'm gonna be upset. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, it's like board shorts and flip flops, and you're like, you going swimming today? He's like, going out on the boat. It's just like it's not uncommon for people to not have TVs in their living room here.
Really? That is
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, because you watch TV maybe in the winter when you're not snowmobiling or snowshoeing, which I'm still not going to get into snowshoeing. My buddy wants to, and I was like, it's not my thing.
Yeah, I don't
But
snow. I mean, cool if people dig it. I'm ignorant to it. I don't understand it.
the only way I'm doing it is if I'm going to chase a mountain lion.
Right.
And
That would be kind of how I would see its usefulness. You know, I mean, I guess if you just want to go hike when it's snowy out, I guess would be a reason to do it. Is that why people do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of snowshoeing out here. The snowmobiling is huge. It was a culture shock when I was sitting at an intersection. We just got a big snow, and this snowmobile just goes ripping by me on the street. I was like, what just happened? And I follow him, up the road or whatever, because I think I was going to the grocery store, and he was just going to get groceries.
That's awesome.
I was like, and nobody batted an eye. No one besides me. It was just normal. It's normal to ride your UTV or your ATV down the street. And so that kind of laid back outdoor culture of just being outside. We love it.
Right. Yeah. So it sounds like more like the outdoors. Like I think you said it pretty well when you said it's not like the heritage stuff. It's just like the thing you do, which to me kind of says that, it is, it's lifestyle. It's just baked into like your everyday. It's like, it's not a season, where here it feels like, and there's nothing wrong with either way, what I mean? It's just based on, regional kind of, cultural kind of perspectives or whatever. Around here, it's very much more geared around like seasonality. Now, I mean, you and I both know some folks, around here that are, just, I don't know how to say it, like diehard outdoors men or women, where, it is kind of an all year round type of thing that they're, engaging in, whether it's hunting, whether it's fishing, whether it's snowboarding, whether it's just hiking, mountain biking, like those types of things. But it certainly isn't nearly as prevalent as it is out there. And a lot of, I think the access to is just like a lot of people out there, it's just out their back door. I think you get some of that culture stuff, like when you go to certain parts of Pennsylvania or the Northeast, like I definitely see hints of it in certain pockets, like when you go like to northern PA and stuff like that, you'll get like hints of it, but there's still like very much a hunting heritage type of enclave, if you will. And there's nothing wrong. It's not bad or good, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And we don't live, here in Idaho, we don't live in a commuter city as to where a lot of the East Coast, those smaller towns that you live in, the majority of the people that live there are commuting to bigger cities to, work in a corporate job. Whereas here, there's no bigger cities to travel to. And so the people that live here either have lived here their whole life, and so that this is in their culture, or they moved here because they wanted to be a part of that culture.
Right.
And so, it's not uncommon. So in Pennsylvania, if you were to shoot a deer and go to the gas station, you might get a couple guys be like, nice, high five or whatever. But then you would also get like some looks, and maybe you might offend some people.
Oh, you mean like the time? You mean like the time you had like blood running out the back of your trunk of your car?
Yes, absolutely.
I love that story. It's like one of my favorite Wilson stories.
Deer in the trunk, and the blood was coming out, and people were freaking out. But here, like when you come out, if we shoot an elk, there's this restaurant that you go to, and you just get we'll eat some dinner or lunch or whatever it is. And then you just stand out at we'll literally just stand at my truck, and we'll just talk to people, because people will want to come and see your out. They'll be like, yeah. And they'll come up and high five you. And then they'll be like, where'd you shoot it at? And it's just like, a community thing. Like we'll call all the friends and everyone will come down and we'll be there for 5-6 hours.
Nice. Just hanging out at the
I was
diner.
I was a part of many of them because I would drive by and I'm like, that guy shot an elk. And I just pulled in, walk up, you give him a high five, you look at it, you're like, sweet. My buddy's friend shot a mountain lion. He called me. I left work, drove over there. We're standing around this mountain lion for an hour just talking with people because it's normal.
It feels like the story there, is paramount, right? Like if you're making a point to go to a place just to hang, to converse, like people are interested in the story of what happened.
Oh yeah.
I saw a little bit of that when I was in Iowa. There was a dude at the gas station. I think almost sometimes though, in some whitetail places, it's almost frowned upon, like someone's showing off, like this guy, when I was in, and I don't know if this is true or not. I just kind of assumed, again, a little bit culturally ignorant, to different places, what the etiquette is, I guess might be one way to say it. But went to, when I was in Iowa, there was a guy who shot a hammer. And I drove by like the gas station probably 3 different times, and he was still at the gas station 3 different times. When I drove by 3 different times with his tailgate down, you know what I mean? Just letting it eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyone want to see my deer?
Yeah, and I can't say that there was a lot of people stopping by necessarily. A lot of people looking. I think people who are stopping it was at Casey's. Shocker.
Yeah.
And people who were stopping into Casey's would like say something to the guy or whatever. But he also wasn't standing out by his truck. He was just standing inside too, which is a little bit different. Maybe he should be outside by the deer. Maybe he should have a sign like
I shot a deer.
I shot big deer. Come talk to me about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it just
awesome.
seems like people want to. I mean, you're going to get those pockets of elite people, who are like, I hiked 27 miles to shoot this elk and carried it out by myself in my loincloth.
Right.
And they don't want you to know, and they're never going to tell anybody about it. And these old timers who shoot an elk every year or deer every year, you're never going to know. But the common theme, the thread seems to be that people want you to succeed. Because it's not easy hunting out here. Which is what I'm learning. The topography is nasty and it's forest. It's not like you see on a lot of Western videos where you're sitting there and you're glassing, all these barren hillsides for elk moving through little pockets of trees. It's like, you got to know where you're at, where you're going, and how to hunt in thick, steep, nasty terrain.
Yeah. I mean, you live not far from Troy Pottinger. Like, you guys live relatively close together.
What up, Troy?
What up?
I don't, if he lives near me, I haven't seen him.
Yeah, he lives. He doesn't live far from you. Whenever I had him on, he mentioned, he lives not far from. How do you say it? Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene. Or if you're French, it's Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene. Yeah, that's how I'm going to refer to it when I come out and see how quickly I get punched in the face.
I love Coeur d'Alene. People are like, get out of here.
Leave. And
are you from California? Hit the road.
Hit the road, Jack. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing he talks about when I've talked to him, just about, him chasing mountain bucks out there and stuff like that, where it's vast, it's rugged, a lot of timber. And to your point, I think when a lot of people think of elk hunting or hunting the West in general, they do think of those kind of hunting the high desert, if you will, right? Like the southern Montana kind of area and stuff like that, where you can, or southern Idaho as well.
Same thing.
Yeah, where you can just see a long ways. You get on a knob, and it's just like you can glass for days. But you're up in the area where it's just, it's timber country. If people think about it in relationship to how close you are to like Spokane, Washington, and stuff like that, and think about the logging industry and stuff that exists there. I mean, it's very similar. To where you're at.
Yeah, it's pronounced Spokane.
Spokane. Okay, what did I say? Spokane?
Yeah, Spokane or Spokompton.
Spokompton?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to get beat up out there with all my mispronunciations. That's what's going to happen.
No, you're going to get here. We're going to get whatever supplies you need, and I'm going to get you to the woods as quick as I can.
Nice. You don't want to be seen with me. Like, hey, let's get this Flatlander into the woods so people don't see me.
Wearing those skinny jeans or... your Ray-Ban.
Dude, I'm totally wearing some Ray-Bans. I'm gonna wear some skinny jeans. Actually, I'm gonna come out with I'm gonna try to fit in. And knowing that people are wearing bathing suits at the gas station, I'm gonna wear like the Borat slingshot. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna just
praise the
rock.
Lord.
Yeah, I'm just gonna rock one of those. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just so and then I'm gonna pronounce it however the French pronounce it. Like Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it that little French twist with my
I
Borat
would
slingshot.
I would enjoy it.
You would enjoy that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We don't judge.
No. All right, good to hear. So you can plan on seeing me come from the airport in that.
Yeah.
So anyway, man, when we were talking about working, folks working at the stores, the cashiers or whatever. Speaking of your work, you also had a pretty big transition in terms of your work. You know what I mean? You're now working in the outdoor industry. I know it's something you've wanted to do for a long time, but how's that transition been? How's working in the outdoor industry? Is it what you expected, not what you expected? Are you able to hunt more or less than you had in the past, or that more or less than you thought you'd be able to? And what are you actually doing?
Yeah, no, it was a big jump. I went from working at a church as a pastor for almost 10 years, to working in the outdoor industry. And it's been awesome. It's been a great transition because I love to build. I love to create. I love to make things. And we make game calls. So we make duck calls, goose calls, turkey calls, and then we manufacture, any kind of game call you can think of, we manufacture it for people in the industry, like private label stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome just being able to, go duck hunting with a duck call that you made.
Right.
Or shoot a turkey with a diaphragm call that you came up with. It's satisfying in a whole bunch of different ways.
Right. Are you your hunt time, because this is why I ask. All my other buddies who, work in the outdoor industry or the hunting industry, everyone always has the assumption, it's like, man, I want to work in the outdoor industry because then I'm going to be able to hunt a lot. It's like, well, typically hunting's not your job. You're still working. And so you still have to kind of work around your work schedule or whatever. And like what I found is most of those dudes, they actually hunt a lot less than they thought they would. And a lot of them actually get less opportunity to hunt than I do. And so I'm just curious what your, how much are you getting to hunt? Is it more or less than you thought, or more or less than you have in the past?
Well, it's interesting because I haven't shot a deer in a year. It has been over a year because when I moved west, I have to live here, a certain amount of time to become a resident.
Yep.
And in Idaho, the non-resident tags, they're over the counter, but they sell out. Like they're already sold out for this year, upcoming season.
Right.
So when I moved here, I didn't have any opportunity to hunt. And so I kind of had a reset of like, you don't hunt.
That's a hard reset, bro.
Oh, trust me. I was like, oh, it was brutal, but I learned a lot and I grew a lot in some cool areas, and we can talk about that later. But so I didn't hunt like deer. I didn't hunt elk. I didn't do any big game hunting. Waterfowl hunting though, that's a tag that you can buy over the counter out of state pretty cheap. So on the waterfowling side of things, which is the first thing that's what got me into hunting was waterfowl hunting. It's what I think I enjoy the most, honestly. Waterfowl and turkey hunting. I love deer hunting. I love elk hunting. But a waterfowl, I think the camaraderie of doing it with guys, I love it.
Yeah.
I got to do it more than I think I ever have in my life.
That's cool.
And now it wasn't at a sacrifice. Like I'm not getting paid. I'm not, if I wanted to go hunt like midweek, I had the freedom to, but it wasn't like I was on the clock getting paid to go hunt.
Right.
So I think that was like a misconception, is like you work in the outdoor industry and you get paid to hunt. Well, not necessarily, not in my situation.
Right.
And so now there's times like right now during turkey season where we're making turkey hunting films. We hired a guy named Zach. He just moved here from Indiana and he full-time media marketing for us. And so that's different, where we need to make a film, so we need to go hunt. And so I guess you would say I am getting paid on that sense, but it's not like I've ever looked at it like, oh, now I get paid to hunt. And so, and it all depends on work schedule, like what jobs we have going on, because there's many times where I wanted to go hunt on a Saturday, but I had to work because we had to get, we had to
X
get
amount of calls done by X day or whatever. Yeah. You're on a production schedule.
Yep. Yeah. Because we manufacture. And so, no matter you order how few or how many calls, we got to get them done. And if we can't get them done, then we're not hunting. Yeah. And so, yeah, it is and I mean, when I got hired, it was like 50% of our staff didn't even hunt.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And so, yeah, the one guy's a CNC programming master, and he's just finishing his senior year in college. Does all our design, never hunted in his life. His little brother is he does our finishing, shipping and stuff. He'd never hunted in his life. We took him on his first goose hunt this year, and he shot a goose, and that was the only goose we shot on the whole hunt.
That's awesome.
And I was like, how was it? And he goes, yeah, it was cool.
It was cool.
I was like, all right. And then, so we kind of been trying to get him in. The other kid, Matt, he's also one of our guys. He finishes all the calls. They look good. Matt's finishing them, buffing them, making sure they're nice and ready to roll. He went goose hunting and duck hunting, and he is all in now. So that's been pretty fun. He just shot his first turkey a few days ago. And so slowly that number is getting less.
Right. But it seems like at times, though, you're at least getting to kill two birds with one stone, right? Like you're getting to work in the outdoor industry, which you like because it keeps you connected, right, to the things that you really like, and you're making products and that you're actually getting to use. And then it gives you some flexibility to be able to go hunt or make a choice, to have the freedom to make a choice, right? Production schedule notwithstanding, within realm of reason, right? But there is more flexibility than maybe you would have had in the past.
Yeah, well, your boss understands, I'm like, hey, it's rained for 3 days straight. Tomorrow morning's going to be sunny. I'm going to go turkey hunting.
Right.
Well, as you should. My two bosses, they're great. And if they listen to this, I'm not sucking up. You're good dudes. But, they understand, if you're getting your work done and you want to hunt, there's no question. There's not that question of you're going to do what?
Right.
You're going to hunt. You're going to what? You're going to go sit out in the rain and shoot a duck? Right. They get it. And, we're doing marketing for our calls while we're out there. We're getting content and whatnot. And so it all kind of plays in that same picture.
And I know you go in crazy early too, because how far behind are you? You're 2 hours behind, or is it 3 hours behind me?
3 hours.
3 hours behind me. And I would be up just getting my workout done. You know what I mean? And I would be getting ready to post stuff on a Wednesday for the podcast. And I would get on the Instagram to start posting stuff. And there's a Wilson Mcswain story of his cup of coffee driving to work at 4 dark 30. 4 dark 30.
Oh yeah.
So it's nice that you kind of have that flexibility where it's like, hey, if I have extra stuff I need to get done, I can just hop in early, knock it out, and then be good to go.
Yeah. I've always been a morning person, and so I've always been if I can get stuff done first thing, then that's what I'm going to do.
Right. Now you mentioned, I wanted to get back to it because you said we could talk about that too. You mentioned growth in a lot of ways. What did you mean by that?
I hunted an extreme amount with no weapons. So
that's awesome.
I've never been elk hunting before. I mean, never even really been in the woods with an elk in my life. And now I live in a place where I can elk hunt right here, 15 minutes from my house. And so this summer I was like, well, I'm going to start scouting. I'm not going to sit and wallow in self-pity that I can't hunt. I'm going to just figure it out so that next season, because we have a busy season this coming elk season, I'm totally prepared. So I would just go. My wife didn't move here right away. I moved out 3 months before her. And so after work on Friday, actually I was working 410. So after work on Thursday, I would get in my truck and I would drive up to the mountains and I would spend my weekend in the mountains hiking, scouting, looking for elk. And my first time up there, I'm sitting down at the very first place I ever pulled off. And this was like, I don't know, June. And I get my binoculars. I'm like, shoot, there's some elk right there. This isn't hard. This is so easy.
It's like what I hear all these people complaining about, man. They're right there.
I was like, I've been in the mountains for like 15 minutes and I already found a herd of elk. I don't know what everyone's complaining about. And so then I don't know, by luck, by chance or whatever, these elk I just watched all summer long. And then, I got a little alert on my phone that was like, prepare for archery season, starts on this weekend or whatever. So I was like, man, I'm going to go up there during archery season and see what the public land is like here. I mean, we have 1 million acres of public land. And so I went up there on Archery Elk Opener, which is the last day of August, I think. And I was just blown away. I got there the day before opener and I passed 2 little kind of setups like mine, like truck with a canopy on the back and the guy sleeping in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And then that first day, I just kind of hiked down into this drainage where I'd watched these elk all summer and blew my bugle. I was like, I don't know how to do this, but I got a bugle tube and a reed thing in my mouth. I'm going to blow it. And the elk bugled back. I was like, what in the world? And here comes this little kind of satellite bull, I think you call them, through the woods, like wanting to fight. And I was hooked on elk hunting right then. I was like, I am absolutely hooked. And then so I drove around for that whole weekend, and I think I counted like, man, I want to say like 15-ish vehicles in the span of 3 days of driving and probably over 100 miles.
Right. Yeah.
On dirt roads. So it was just, I was pretty impressed. And then I went out that second weekend and it was absolutely packed.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And so I guess a lot of guys, our tag system works differently. So some rifle hunters can hunt the second part of archery season. And a lot of those out of towners come in that mid first week and hunt that second weekend.
Right.
But yeah, I learned a lot. Same thing with deer hunting. I didn't get to deer hunt, but I got to hunt without a weapon and scout and figure out. So this deer season, I'm pumped because we have got some sweet spots that are, I got some bowed-in spots. I got some access through some private land to public, because a lot of our public is really hard to get to because of private.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a ton of access through private land onto public. And topography has been a huge thing to figure out. I'm used to hunting farm fields and like
flatland
maybe
swamps
a creek
and stuff like that. Yeah, or a creek.
Swamps, creek bottom. And it was cool because I kind of we did it in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. I've killed bucks on farms. We killed them near creeks, and we not figured it out, but this is just it's a whole restart of there's a mountain and there's deer on it somewhere.
Right.
Go figure it out.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's like one of my favorite things. One of the things I like most about just travel hunting in general is that whole idea of okay, I can find them in these areas. I've successfully found them, or killed them in some instances. Now I'm in a new place. What do I know that's transferable?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then what are the things that are starting from ground zero that I need to figure out because I just don't know, and that to me is, one of my favorite parts about travel hunting is that you just don't know. And the other thing is too, is that there's a level of excitement that is with that type of approach because you really don't have any preconceived notions of what to expect or what's going to happen. And so it's almost, I kind of envy sometimes. I don't want to say envy is a strong word to use because I don't like to envy really anybody or anything, but it's when you see a new hunter or someone who's doing something that's newer at something and they get to have that experience for the first time, right? That's awe-inspiring for them. And when you do it for a while, you kind of, I don't want to say it's not as awe-inspiring, but you maybe you take it for granted might be a better way to say it, because you've seen it a couple, different times play out different ways or whatever. I mean, I
Yeah.
still get excited even when does approach, so it's not like I don't get
Yeah.
excited. You know what I mean? Like I still get jacked up when critters are coming into me.
Yep.
But for example, like the first time you see a buck come in and like really work a scrape and like make a rub in front of you, you know what I mean? Like really tear one up or whatever. Like that's super cool. Have seen that, have got to witness that in a couple different states and stuff like that. But a person who had never seen it before, now I can watch it and I'm like, okay, he's going to go over and do this. Oh, he's going to hit that scrape and he's probably going to hit that rub that's right there. A person who's seen it for the first time is like, holy smokes, did you see that? Like, do you see what he just did? There's a level of excitement because they just are unaware of what the deer is going to do next or what the animal is going to do next. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like you're getting to kind of like almost like a rebirth of hunting where it's all brand new and you get to have that that new car smell experience.
Yeah. Well, when the elk came in, I literally was like, I'm in awe, right? And this elk is to me, it seemed like he was at like 10 feet, but he's probably at like 30 yards. And nice. I realized like after he walked away, I was like, there's no way I could have shot him. I'm standing like in a terrible spot. I'm wide out in the open. I got nothing behind me. And I was like, if I had my bow, I would have absolutely blew it.
Right.
And how many times we've done that deer hunting, right? Like you get in, you set up in your spot and deer comes in, maybe it's even a shooter, which I've had plenty of times. And I'm like, I did not think of that. I did not think that there's this trail coming here and bedding is over, say to my east, and he's coming from food and I am set up totally facing the wrong way. And I miss an opportunity because I just overlooked something. And now with elk hunting, I'm like, what is there to overlook? And what do I need to figure out? Right. And who knows, I may not shoot an elk for a handful of years because everyone, I hunted 15 years before I shot my first elk, or I did this or that. I was like, well, you don't know how determined I am. But there's so many things I got to learn. So many things that are overlooked that I got to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think look, I'm no elk hunting expert, far from it. Only thing I know is from, people who have done it well that I've had a chance to talk to, like Eddie Claypool, for example. Like that dude, man, the podcast I did with him, I forget the first year he went elk hunting. I want to say it was like either 1980 or like 1979. He literally went out. It was one of those 2 years. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but he went to Colorado with a pair of blue jeans, like some flannel shirts and like a pair of work boots. Like that's how he rolled. That's how he rolled out. He was way ill prepared. He ended up finding elk. He didn't kill one, but then from that point forward, I asked him on the podcast and I was like, what's your success rate, when you elk hunt now? And his response was, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of which one. And he's like, if I had to put a percentage on it, he's like probably something like 98% or something like that. He's like, I think the only year I didn't kill one, if he wasn't mistaken, was the first year he went out. I think he filled his tag on an elk every year that he's gone elk hunting, which has been every year since. That he's filled his tag, which is insane. Yeah. But it's all about thermals. At least that's what I hear. That's what people have told me. I mean, and I've elk hunted in the past, so it's like I've had a little bit of experience. But it's certainly, and it's not surprising, right? Because you're dealing with steep terrain, right? And you're dealing with the heating and cooling of the earth, and so you're going to have some, the elk are going to use those thermals to their advantage, not just to find, keep their harem in check or whatever, but obviously they're trying to survive, especially in the areas in which you live, which have mountain lions, wolves, grizzlies, you know what I mean? So it's not like they're just trying to avoid people. They have real kind of survival needs that they have to be sharp.
Yeah, it's like humans actually are probably the least of their worries.
Yeah, most likely, especially in that dense timber up there, because it's not like you're able to take like in most cases like a 60-yard, 70-yard shot at an elk, like you would be able to in somewhere that's like, a meadow, in the part of the high desert somewhere where you have like a meadow that opens up in between some dark timber or in a drainage or something like that. You're
Yeah.
just not going to get that type of shot where you're at least from what I understand and talking to you and talking to Troy. It's like that type of stuff isn't going to happen.
Yeah. And when you come out, the thing is, like, I can almost guarantee you we're gonna get we'll be an elk, but it's just a matter of, can we get to them, and B, can we get to them successfully?
Right. And I'm not surprised that you kind of like, fell in love with elk hunting right away, considering how much you like turkey hunting. Because before I went elk hunting, the way everyone described it to me was, if you like turkey hunting and like, working turkeys and listening to them call and stuff like that, this is like hunting a 900-pound turkey. Aside from like, they're going to use the wind and things like that, right? So different, right? But the principle of you're going to call, locate, and go try to find, and then try to sweet talk.
Oh yeah, it's what I mean. We're in the middle of turkey season right now, and it's like my favorite thing. You get out there, you do a locator call, owl call, crow call, whatever. And if that bird responds and gobbles, it is like, it's game on. It's like, what do we do? How do we get there? Luckily, turkeys don't smell.
Right.
They can't smell you. I mean, they stink when you shoot one, but it's like, how can you go get that animal? As to where a deer, man, if whitetails bugled or made any sort of like locator noise, I know they grunt, I know they do all that stuff, right? But
right.
If you could locate a whitetail from 300 yards away in Pennsylvania, especially where you're at, it'd be game over.
Right. Yeah.
They would be extinct.
Yeah, I would love that. Actually, I wouldn't, because they would be extinct probably, but it would make life a lot easier.
You could walk to the edge of the timber, make your locator call. That deer grunts, you hear him from 200 yards away. It's like, sweet, I'm going to go this way. He's going over here.
Even better yet, you go to the edge of that timber, you grunt, you don't hear anything. You're like, he ain't in there. I'm out of here. I'm going to another spot. Other than, or, and then not end up spending a full day sitting in a tree from sun up to sundown and him never being within 2 miles of you.
Dude, I hunted a buck for many years. I think I talked about it on this podcast before. And he was like, I wanted to kill this buck so bad. And I sat like 3 or 4 days in a row from sun up to sundown trying to shoot this deer, and I didn't see him one time. And I was like, what in the world is wrong? And then I had a buddy text me, and he was like, got this crazy buck on camera. And it was like a mile away. And I was like, are you kidding me? I hunted this buck that had just totally changed areas. And it was right at that time, that switch at the beginning of the rut, where it's like,
he started getting his miles on, started moving.
Yep. And every year he'd kind of rutted in the same kind of corridor, and he just basically hopped the street and was rutting on a different property. And I just sat there for nothing for 4 days. Yeah. And yeah, if you could locate deer and then just go hunt different properties, it would change the game.
Yeah, it would. So was turkey season your first hunting season in Idaho that you were actually, I mean, aside from waterfowl, I know you did some waterfowl stuff, but like, was turkey season kind of like the first, like, in the mountains hunting, I guess is one way to say it, that you had a chance to do?
Yeah. I mean, I did get a mountain lion tag, and I have a buddy whose dad and his friend run dogs, and they said, hey, we get your tag, because I may just call you and say we cut some tracks and just show up. So I had that in my pocket. I never actually went. And then but yeah, so turkey would be my first, like, besides waterfowl, my first hunting season in Idaho, and it has been awesome.
So yeah, so tell me how are turkeys in the mountains? Because I did some mountain bird hunting this past weekend.
Yeah.
In a podcast of recapping some of that. Well, actually not recapping, because it was in the middle of failed attempt. A couple days, weather wasn't great. Located, one on the last day that we were there in the morning, that they flew off the roost super late. A lot of fog, and once they came down, we were actually getting ready to leave, and we actually so we roosted this bird the day before and came back. The weather was crap. We ended up, walking him where we thought he was at, and we were right where he was at. He just didn't gobble on the limb, and they didn't fly down until super late. And then when he hit the ground, he gobbled. And by that time we were getting ready to leave, and they made it actually across the road onto like another piece of private. we weren't going to call them across the road. They weren't going to have any of it. At one point, we thought they might because they started coming closer. There was, I think, 2 gobblers and 2 jakes is what it sounded like. We might have been fooled. It might have just been 1 gobbler, but it started moving closer to us. Then a truck came by and talked to a guy along this like dirt access road. And once that happened, it just basically blew the birds out, and they either shut up or they split, one or the other.
Yeah. And
so at that point, it was kind of game over. We ran to a couple other spots real quick because this happened. We were done at like with those birds by like 10:30. I think that kind of wrapped up, and so we jetted to 2 other spots and just tried to call and locate something to make a move on, and just we didn't get a single gobble. And that was kind of the end of it. I don't know if I'll get out I'll probably get out one more time at the end of May with my dad back on his farm, but turkey season is probably for the most part a wash for me at this point. But how was so I did a little mountain bird hunting, not nearly as big of mountains as you got going on out there. So how was your mountain bird experience?
It was sweet. My first place I shed hunted out here is on there's a lot of logging company property out here.
Did you find sheds?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did not find a shed.
All right, there you go. End of that story. Moving on to turkeys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was like not even the right area to shed hunt. It's like not their wintering range, and everyone was like, there's no elk up there. Like they would never shed up there. I was like, oh, something to learn.
Right. Put that in my pocket.
Yeah. So, but I had seen some turkey tracks, and so I got on the map and I started doing some looking, and most of this public land is landlocked by a lake, and private land where I wanted to go is miles on foot. And to turkey hunt, it's so early in the morning. I'm like, I'm not hiking 10 miles in the dark,
right,
over all these ridges. And so we took a boat across this lake, and it's a mile and a half, I think, to get to the top. And that first day we went out with my good buddy Clancy. He's got a boat, and we got to the edge of the timber, and I owl called from the lake, and birds lit up across the whole mountainside. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced, like locating a bird from the water, and the gobbles like echo out over the water.
Wow.
Because that public touches the lake for, on 100 yards. Mm-hmm. So we parked the boat and hiked up, and we called in a bird literally I want to say about 4 feet behind us, and he gobbled down our neck, which we weren't expecting. He came out, I don't know, a few feet from my buddy who was shooting, and he was like, "Oh, humans, I'm out." It was just way too close to have a turkey.
Right.
That in that thick cover that we were in. But so I went back another time and worked birds, and they work very different in the mountains up here. Like back home in the Midwest, you can put a decoy out in the field and usually call a bird across a field. Mm-hmm. Or in the timber, you can work a bird through the timber and they're going to come as long as there's not a lot of obstacles. Well, here in a lot of these clear cuts have drainages through them, and clear cutting here, there's not a lot of ground foliage. So it's just logs and stumps and sticks.
Right.
And I'm trying to call these birds, 150 yards across this clear cut. I'm like, why are they not coming? They're just strutting on this logging road. We watch them for a few hours, and they don't travel like I'm used to. Like calling a bird in the mountains is way, way different when the topography is drastic. Because mountain, even where you're at, it's a lot of rolling mountain.
Yeah.
So you have little ridges that dip down, and then not like you don't have a lot of peaks.
Yeah.
And here we have peaks and drainages that are steep, and birds don't cross them. So it took me 2 days, I guess, to figure that out. And then the third day we shot him. We shot a bird, and it was weird. He had no spurs. It appeared. The second day I was there, I called in a bird, and I looked at my buddy who's filming, and I said, he's got no spurs and no beard. And it had rain, and so I think his beard was just tucked up in his feathers.
Right.
And that second day I shot this bird. I'm like, I can see his full beard. He's got full fan. I'm shooting him because I don't really pass on turkeys that have a full fan and a full beard.
Right.
and got up to me at no spurs. I was like, this is crazy. And I guess Merriam's, it's not super uncommon for them to not grow a large spur.
Nice. Was that your first Merriam?
No, I'd shot a couple Merriams in Kansas before.
Okay.
So I just need to shoot. If I shoot an Osceola, then I'll have my slam.
Nice. So I guess you're going to Florida next year?
Yeah, we talked about going this year, but our company is doing a turkey tour, and we just couldn't fit Florida in the tour. So we shot birds in Texas with a good buddy, actually an outfitter out there. We went out, we sponsor that outfitter, and he said, well, we don't have clients if you want to come hunt with me and have some fun. So we stayed out there a couple days and shot 2 Rios.
Nice.
In a place where nobody should go. There's rattlesnakes and things that want to kill you there.
Yeah, no thanks. How was the Texas hunt? Was that your first time hunting Texas?
Yeah, that was my first time hunting Texas. We heard 2 birds gobble, and we killed those 2 birds. That was it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
a business trip.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, the first day we didn't hear a gobble, didn't see a turkey. Second day, these 2 birds gobbled, and we killed them. And I was like, our emotions were low. I was like, we came out here. We had a trade show that we were out there for, and then we stayed a couple days later to hunt. And yeah, it was hard hunting. And you're in the dark, going to sit up against a tree that may have a copperhead or a rattlesnake or a black mamba. I don't know what kind of snakes are out there, but things that want to kill you.
A black mamba. Man, they got king cobras. You're naming all of them. You're like, I don't know. Dude, they're all bad.
They got pythons and panther snakes and Satan snakes. I don't even know.
Yeah, dude. So Texas is one of those places I would love to go hunt. I actually have a place that I'll talk to you after we're offline about it, because it's a little hidey hole gem that I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on. But yeah, it's a hard place to go. It's public, but it's just a hard place to get access to hunt it. And they have giants there. And so I'm making a hunt plan. It's part of my hunt plan for the next 5 to 10 years or whatever. And I'm really looking forward to going. And I was kind of checking it out on the map, and there's a little bit of topography and stuff like that. And I was looking at the habitat, and it's just all kind of weird, sandy, bullshit, really, and cactusy looking. Yeah, and I hate snakes. I cannot stand snakes, and that's one thing that would keep me from going places to hunt is literally having too many snakes. That's how much I don't like them. And
yeah,
I didn't think about it whenever I was kind of making my hunt plan, and this person was telling me about this spot, and I was like, man, chance to kill a giant in Texas? Really? Okay. Oh, really? There's that, it's like a thing where you have to have there's some hoops you got to jump through to be able to, have access to this public, and it's super low pressure with giants. Yeah, sign me up. I'm in, And then after 2 or 3 days, I was thinking about it. I was like, man, there's going to be a shit pile of snakes there.
Oh yeah. We were out hunting, and we come back to the truck, for midday snack or get some water or something. And he was like, check out this 7-foot snake I shot while you guys were out there. And I was like, get out. I'm done. Get me to the plane. I am out of here.
Oh,
no, well, we have content to film. I don't care. I like my life better than content. Right. I was just I almost threw up.
So aside from that dead snake, did you see any rattlers?
No, we didn't, but we saw some pigs, and our buddy got charged by a pig, and he's running around this tree. He carries around this 4-foot pole with a big blade on the end of it. Looks like a machete duct taped to a pole. And I'm like, what is this for? He goes, oh, snakes and pigs. I was like, I'm done. I can't.
Yeah.
And he's hitting this tree, and this pig's chasing him around. I was like, dude, I wasn't there for it, and if I was, I would have just shot him and the snake and the pig. I'm like, you're both dying.
Right. Well, I guess that saying, don't mess with Texas. They have it for a reason.
Oh yeah, stuff there wants to kill you. The dust is incredible. It's it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Texas has got its own kind of beauty, but it's not for the weak of heart or people who are afraid of bugs and snakes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I heard that. So where else
Yeah.
so you've been to, you obviously killed your bird in Idaho and in Texas. Where else are you going? Or
Uh,
are you guys done?
we are doing a turkey camp this weekend in southern Idaho. So we got a bunch of our good buddies coming out to turkey hunt some mountain range um, south of here. So that'll be fun. We got a wall tent
Nice.
and yeah, it'll be fun. It's going to be a full 9 yards. And then the following weekend, I'm going to Wyoming to hunt some public and probably mix a private there. And then we have another buddy in Montana that we're going to jump over to Montana and shoot a bird in Montana as well. So our tour consists of Texas, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon.
Oh, nice.
And so
Are you going to Washington, Oregon, or is someone else doing those?
yeah, I just won't go to Oregon. I don't think I'm going to Oregon.
Okay.
We shot a bird in Oregon already, and we still have some tags for Oregon. So if we have time, we're going to jump back down there. But I'll hunt Washington, and I got a bird in Idaho, but I have more tags for Idaho and Washington still. So my hope is to shoot birds in Washington, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana. So
That's a lot of birds, man. You got
yeah, no, should be good.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about, deer hunting, and you're looking forward to your first kind of deer hunting season. I guess what's your game plan for this year? I mean, do you have, because you were hunting last year without a gun, right? So do you have a game plan of, do you think where you might have some prospects, or do you know of some good deer that are around? I don't even know if you ran trail cameras or anything last year.
No, I didn't run trail cameras last year, but I did do a bunch of scouting. I went to a place. I hunted twice with people with weapons. I went on one elk hunt with a guy, took him out, and that we walked right up on this herd of elk at like 40 yards, and these cows kind of run out, and this massive 6x6 dark timbered bull stands up. I don't know, about 50 yards during rifle season, and he couldn't see him, and he stepped out into the open, and it was just a cluster. But that was cool to see an elk of that caliber up close.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went deer hunting with a guy in a spot that he'd hunted before, and I had been looking out on the maps, and this 10 point, I guess here they call them 5x5s or 5 point, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Came up, and the angle was so steep, he shot and his bullet hit the dirt before it got to the deer.
Oh, you told me about that, actually.
Yeah, because he couldn't see the dirt in his scope, and I mean the deer was 7 feet from him, so just standing there looking at us. So yeah, so I got some good deer spots, but I think my plan for this year is I'm going to archery hunt elk for the whole archery elk season.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to probably rifle hunt deer.
When does deer season come in out there?
The same day as elk season.
Okay.
And so I want to put my archery hunting efforts towards elk.
Yeah.
Because sense. I can archery hunt deer still, the whole season, but I think how it's going to turn out is I'm probably going to just archery hunt elk. We'll archery hunt with you when you come out.
Yep.
And if a bull's not big enough for you to shoot, I'll shoot it.
You ain't got to worry about that, dude.
And
I see a branchler. It's happening.
Yeah, but it's cool. So I got you coming out for archery elk season, and then my uncle lives in Minnesota. His lifelong dream is to hunt elk in Idaho. And I moved here, and he said, "Hey, can I come out and elk hunt?" I was like, "Sure." So he got a tag. He got a tag. His son got a tag, and his 2 best friends got a tag. So we're gonna have a rifle camp. Nice. And rifle elk starts the same time as rifle deer.
Mm-hmm.
And so my hope is that I've already shot an elk with my bow, and then while I'm elk hunting with them, I'll have a rifle, and I'll probably shoot my whitetail with a rifle this year.
Nice.
And I've never killed a deer. I don't think I never shot a deer with a rifle. And so somebody got me a rifle as like a going away gift. And so I'm going to try to put it to use.
Nice. Yeah, man, I'm pretty stoked to come out. It's been a few years since I've had a chance to elk hunt.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to coming out and chasing some elk with you. What are our prospects looking like for elk hunting? I know we have some cameras out soaking right now and some elk spots. What do you what's our plan for this year? Because I'm leaving so just so people know, I'm leaving all the planning up to Wilson. I'm literally going to fly in with my stuff, and then we're gonna head to the woods, and then we're just gonna run around the woods like maniacs and try to find elk.
Yeah. I hope that you leave this trip just going, I never want to go back because I'm so tired.
I hope it's that, and because we packed something out. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. No, I'm going to go pull some cameras this weekend. They've been out for a month and a half now. We're going to go turkey hunt near where we're going to elk hunt. So I'm going to pull those cams and just see, what it's looking like. There was still snow down there when I put the cameras out. So I know stuff is starting to change. Elk are starting to move back into their summer ranges.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are going to hunt all public access. We're going to drive and kind of spike camp from our vehicles. Since it's just you and me, we're going to try to stay as light as possible.
Yep.
And get back to where not a lot of people are going, because that archery season here, people are traveling into DIY or they're weekend hunters.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be a lot of people spending the amount of time that you and I are going to spend out there. So we're going to just try to get back as far as we can.
Yeah.
Because there's some untouched areas that I'm sure people have gone. I guarantee you they've gone, but it's just not fun to get there.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and I'll be there for opening day, which it's,
yep.
I mean, it's cool. It's different that it opens, on the last day of the month, regardless of what day of the week it is, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's like a Wednesday or a Thursday that it opens.
Yeah. I think it's a Wednesday.
Yeah. So
it's 2 days after my birthday. So we'll have a birthday celebration and we'll kill an elk.
Nice. And it's kind of cool because it opens in the middle of the week. So you get like that opening, like where you shouldn't have a ton of people necessarily, because they're probably just going to wait for the weekend, especially those who are traveling from out of town. And then we'll have the whole following week essentially without people for the most part, right? Because then the following weekend is the big weekend, like the second weekend of September.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it is a Wednesday and we'll get out there. And then the cool thing is, I have made some really good friends out here, and I'm hoping my buddy Clancy is going to come with us for at least some of it. He used to work at a bow shop, and we hit it off right away because I was like, oh, I work on bows on the side. And he was like, that's what I do on the side. I was like, do we just become best friends?
Hey, you want to do karate in the garage? Yes, I do.
Yeah. And, but if we shoot an elk, it's going to be fun because of the location. We'll be about an hour and a half from civilization, I guess, right?
Right.
But an hour and a half is nothing for our buddies to drive up and help us back out an elk.
Nice.
So it's gonna be a good time. I think we're gonna get into them. I'm a super optimistic person in general, and so it is. It's a matter of when you shoot an elk on our trip.
Yes.
So
I agree.
But then super optimism comes with super depression at the end.
Right. Yeah, well, this is what I'm banking on, dude. So every time we've ever deer hunted together, and this is all true. It's like
don't talk about this.
No. I'm going to talk about it because I'm going to put it out in the world, and it's going to happen. So when Wilson and I deer hunt together, anytime. So a lot of times, when Wilson was living around here, we would hunt all bow season, separately because we're chasing different deer and we hunt different places and stuff like that. Even though we live close together, we typically would hunt different places. And then once late season came around, he and I would do hunts together, where it'd be like, maybe he'll film and I'll hunt, or I'll film and he'll hunt, or we'll just literally both take our bows and we're going to go sit in a blind, on some, private access that he has to try to just kill some late season does. And no matter where we would go or what we would do, without fail, we would never see a single deer. Not even like deer just weren't in the shooting range. Literally not even proof of life. So,
But then what would happen next? I would go there the next day. I'm like, I got to prove a point,
yeah.
and I would shoot a deer.
And he would shoot a deer at the same spot that we were just at. So I think what's going to happen on this trip is because we had the zero deer policy when we hunt together. I think we're thick up in it elk policy. I think is what we're going to have. We're going to have the inverse.
I'm ready for it.
Nice. I'm ready for it too, man.
Yeah, and you can shoot a fall turkey, I'm pretty sure, at the same time. So
oh, really?
we get bored, shoot a turkey.
Nice. Yeah. It's yeah, man, I'm pretty pumped, dude. I'm looking forward to coming back out west and running mountains and just making sure that I'm in shape so I can hang with so this Flatlander can hang when he gets out there.
Yeah, dude, I just looked up BJJ. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I just looked up to see if there's any gyms nearby me because I was inspired by you to start taking some classes.
Nice. Yeah, I'm digging it. I got to roll live for the first time last night, and it was good. It was quite a workout. I mean, I've never been so happy to feel like I was going to barf in my life. It was killing.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. I think getting in shape is going to be the biggest thing. And just being prepared. I just listened to your last podcast with the survival guy.
Oh yeah, Kevin Estella. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he hits it on the head. It's like you can have all the gear, we can have expensive tents and sleeping bags, but that just being mentally prepared and aware of your surroundings is huge. And I think we've talked about this before. It's real wilderness out here.
Yeah.
It's not someone's back 40 or, a 200-acre piece of public land. It's deep. It's deep. There's no cell service, and you got to be ready for whatever. If we wake up and there's 6 inches of snow, like we got to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an adventure, which I love. I love hunting and I love adventures. If anyone knows me, they know like I often choose the more adventurous hunt over the guaranteed hunt.
Easy hunt. Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. I kind of like, I like the unknown to a degree. I like to try to go figure it out.
Yep.
And there's just something about being out west and like big areas like that where, it literally is wilderness, and it's a place to find adventure. I've always kind of said what I always like about those types of hunts or those types of experiences is that, the mountain doesn't care who you are or what you are, where you're from, socioeconomic status. It will bury you just the same.
Yeah.
And there's something kind of refreshing about that it's, the hunting mountains and in challenging places like that, it's a meritocracy. Everything is earned, nothing's given.
Yep.
And that's,
Yep.
And that makes it that much sweeter whenever it all comes together, because you can look back on it and you're like, man, this thing was not handed to me. I had to work my tail off to get it. Or even if I come home without filling a tag, like I did whenever I was in Montana, it was like, I earned that adventure. Every moment of it was earned, because none of it came easy. It was a lot of early mornings, long hikes, lots of being tired, and yeah, it was great. But man, I know you're still at work, brother, so I want to let you go. I appreciate you cutting out of work a little early to jump on and chat with your good buddy. We miss you in PA, man, but I'm looking forward to coming out and seeing you and trying to fill some elk tags with you. Before we jump, let people know where they can find out more about you. We'll let them know where they can find the YouTube stuff that you're working on, the turkey content that you're working on and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm active on Instagram, and it's just Wilson.Mcswain. And then our YouTube channel is Pacific Calls. So we're in the Pacific Northwest, Pacific Calls. And our turkey tour videos are going live each Wednesday. So we got a film coming out tonight of a Washington hunt. And then next Wednesday will be my Idaho mountain hunt from the boat. And so, yeah, Pacific Calls and deer or turkey calls, duck calls, goose calls are all on our website, pacificcustomcalls.com. And we're doing a big turkey sale right now. So if you want a turkey call made by me and the boys here at the shop, they're all handmade. Everything's made in-house, which is one thing I love about our company is if we can do it here in our shop, we do it. So
nice, man. Well, brother, you be good. Tell the wife I said hello, and give the kids and the family a hug for me. And looking forward to seeing you later this summer, man.
Yep, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. If you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And while you're at it, head over to YouTube and give us a sub there as well. I'd be super appreciative if you do those couple things for me. And before I shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to our partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Tethered, Spartan Forge, Exodus, and Skull Brew Coffee Company. And until next time, we'll see y'all.